I mean, I think what they did last September, they acted too slowly. We had the Delta virus come through, 20,000 people flying in for weeks from India with the Delta virus. So they've taken action quickly. They have no option now, given their kind of failure last year. So nevertheless, we are where we are. And some of the restrictions, in a sense, Colin, like work from home if you can. And you know what? Since the opening up, as it were, people have been working substantially from home anyway and going into the work. The hybrid model is now the predominant model of work now, where people work substantially from home but go into work for 1, 2, occasionally 3 days a week. So they have been using their home base as their main working place, but going into the workplace more than when obviously they were totally locked down and working 100% remotely. So I was
going to make the point that it's interesting. It's still an unresolved question, actually. We were talking about it only yesterday evening on the show in the context of what had happened at the Foreign Office, where people were working from home in great numbers. And actually what was missing and what that meant was, at the time of the Afghanistan crisis, Taliban pouring into Kabul, you didn't have that sort of mass of people working together, eavesdropping on colleagues just over there, because they were all doing it on Zoom, and that group dynamic becomes very different. So that conversation remains unresolved. People will presumably on Monday just go back to doing the Zoom meetings, etc., etc. But that is something that people have got their heads around already, isn't it? That's
the downside. But Colin, pre-COVID, funny enough, I did a scientific book called Flexible Work, which came out in May of 2020. But I've asked scientists across the globe, could they review the evidence on flexible working? This was before COVID. Is there higher job satisfaction, less illness, less stress from commuting? What's your performance like? And it was all positive. People didn't work more flexibly, i.e., by flexible, I don't mean remote. I mean working partly from home and partly from the central office environment. This is what people wanted pre-COVID. On balance, they didn't take it because they thought that would send the message to their employer that they weren't committed. And since the pandemic, people, when they had to work remotely, by the way, the evidence was people pre-COVID didn't want to work 100% remote, not at all. Their social needs have to be met and are met by going to work. They have to team build. They have to plan new products and services and that. The flexible model says you go into the work environment when you're needed in the work environment. That is to decide on if you were in the Department of Health or somewhere like that, or having to make decisions in the Foreign Office, you'd all come in during an emergency to sort that out, because that's what it would require. The same thing would apply if you were a private sector body and you were developing a new product. In developing that new product, and that new product, for example, could be a vaccine, right? So you might all have to come in now because we have to get this new variant. We got to get a new vaccine for this variant, and you would come in. But normally you wouldn't necessarily need to be in 5 days a week, 9 to 5. And that's what people who don't have to work at the coalface wanted, still wanted, and substantially a lot of the conferences and business meetings a lot of them are still online, or there's a hybrid model where some people come in and other people stay at home and you combine the two.